for joining. Had a little bit of technical difficulties on Twitter, but glad to be here. We're here today with Alvin Kan, Web3 Growth at BNB Chain, and looking forward to talk about all the things that are coming out on BNB Chain. But first, we're going to kick it off and talk a little bit about BNB Greenfield, which is the new decentralized storage blockchain that the testnet will be released in the upcoming months. So welcome, Alvin. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about BNB Greenfield?
Now, Greenfield, we were saying, is a decentralized data storage infrastructure within the broader BNB Chain ecosystem. If you all haven't really seen the roadmap for BNB Chain, we are actually going towards a multi-chain strategy. So we have, of course, the Beacon chain and the BNB Smart Chain, right? Greenfield will become the storage chain. We have ZK-BNB, if you've heard about it, and there are also a few side chains, right, that have built on BNB Chain. So we're becoming a kind of a full-fledged multi-chain ecosystem where projects can decide on the chain that they want, right, based on the utility that they need. In this case, it could be a dApp, a project that just wants to use Greenfield as storage. But what is more important is Greenfield is so powerful and so different from what are existing Web3 storage systems out there. It's because of the connection to BSC. So there is a native bridge and cross-chain communication module between BSC and BNB Greenfield. Right? So whatever assets you have in Greenfield itself, right, whether it's data they've stored or your BNB ledgers there, can actually be mirrored onto BSC. Now, what this means is you can actually start building apps. For example, right, you want to build a music app for creators. And when you create a music or a song, right, that music file gets stored in Greenfield chain itself with all the metadata stored there by storage providers. And at the same time, your app can actually live on BNB Smart Chain, right, and leverage all the utilities of like the DeFi ecosystem, collaborate with all the other GameFi projects in there, and the users themselves are still on BSC. So now you have a dual ecosystem. So with Greenfield, users can log in with your anonymous cryptographic-based keys. You can create, read, you can execute data with a user experience that's very similar to today's cloud storage services. So if you're a developer, you're very used to S3 buckets in AWS and so on. We will make it such that it is very similar to the experience that you get on AWS as well, right? So this is important to invite the Web2 developers to come in and build apps that require this kind of storage. Users will be able to fully own their data assets, and not just own the asset, but control who can use them, right, in a very similar way. And you will be able to set like group permissions. So with group permissions, it means that for the first time, right, think about it, if you have friends who wants to come together and build a non-profit organization or you want to build a website or co-publish certain things, traditionally how it's done is that only one person actually has the admin rights, right, to whatever is on the front end. But what this means is you can actually have everybody, the community, own that block together, or even like the web hosting together. So this would actually enable a lot of community-based initiatives to start happening, which wasn't really possible before. And then finally, I think, again, it's really about not just the storage, but how you can tap on a smart contract-based economy, right? To tap on BSC, tap on all the DeFi there, tap on all the identity and infrastructure that comes with BSC, and build a whole data economy of it.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I forgot who it was that I heard them explain it. It's basically like being able to take, what you store on your Google Drive, quote unquote, in Web2 world, and interact some of that data with smart contract. Like there's just endless possibilities, especially, as a lot of the people that I connect with in the space who are content creators or social media influencers, where their content is key. It's how they make a living.
Yes, going to add on to that. There's going to be a lot of innovation that we have not seen before, right, with this new kind of technology and adoption. So, for example, think of a Dropbox, and everybody knows Dropbox, right? So with storage now, you're able to just store easily. But what is special in this case is that, well, previously with Dropbox or Google Photos or whatever, you have to, if you want to switch a vendor, right, maybe because Dropbox increased the price or you're unhappy with them, it's not really that easy to do so. Right? Imagine Google Photos, you have to download all the photos, terminate that, settle the bill payment, and then go to another place. Whereas on Greenfield, because there's going to be multiple storage providers, right? So when you kind of sign a contract, you may choose one. But when you want to port, say, after your service level agreement ends, maybe it's 3 months or a year, for example, and you say like, all right, I prefer, storage provider B. There is a P2P network that allows you to just make that switch very easily. right? And with all bill payments and streamings done on the payment module itself. So it gives a lot of choices. And another app that I'm probably dreaming about it. I used to be in data analytics, by the way, so very passionate about data. And I really foresee a data market coming where you're able to put, your data, your behavioral data, and actually put it on the market. And this would be very good for AI, for example, right? A lot of AI centers may want to train using big data sets, but they don't have necessarily good quality data. And so people can start, right, with their ownership of data, putting it on the data market for people to bid on it. I would love to see that happen. Of course, it probably won't happen like that. It's going to take maybe, months or years to get there.
Are there any current initiatives or is there anything going on at ETH Denver that is focusing around Greenfield, or if people have ideas or want to see what others are thinking about?
Yes. So we will be at ETH Denver. For those who are going, safe travels, and please, visit us and take part in the BNB Chain activities. So it's happening next week, right? I'm just trying to get some of the details here. All right, so we have activities from February 24th all the way to 5th March. So we're actually one of the sponsors at ETH Denver. There'll be a full week of hackathons, panels, workshops, definitely lots of networking. You can look forward to that. So what's happening there is we have a Builder Week hackathon. Visit our blog, do register for it. And there is a Greenfield workshop there as well. So some of our solution architects and experts will be there talking about it. There's a happy hour as well on February 28th. And then we also have a booth at the National Western Complex. So do visit us. I heard there are some special swags and treats there. So look forward to that.
Nice. I'm looking forward to see what comes out for BNB Greenfield. There are other, decentralized storage solutions in the space. So what distinguishes Greenfield from some of the other solutions that are available today?
That is a very common question, right? And so the difference here, I think, is the connectivity to a EVM, smart contract ecosystem. Because you can just have a storage, right? Whether you're providing like data that persists forever, or whether you're charging or on a subscription basis, those are different ways of providing the service. But still, in the end, is it a storage only, or is it a storage where you can execute on the data itself? Right? When you can execute smart contracts related to this data storage, that is where the magic happens, right? For example, like I mentioned, in the data market, if you want to buy and sell, right, your data as NFTs, for example, where is the data market going to live in, right? The people who are coding this data market, they still want to build it on EVM, which has a lot of adoption today. And based on that, right, whenever your data is kind of executed, then you go into who has permissions on that and so on. All this logic has to be built in for it to be that usable, right? So the connectivity to BSC itself allows you to actually build all this logic on a smart contract layer, but yet at the same time backed by very efficient data storage capabilities. That's where the difference is.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
And to add on, this may be too far-fetched, right? But when you think about assets, right? With assets, people get creative with the financial aspects of it. And imagine if your data is like an NFT asset, for example, and people are bidding for it. There are things you can do with it in DeFi, right? Maybe it's too far-fetched, but using it as collateral, for example, and this is where DeFi Legos come in. So it's very hard to build, very good apps which is isolated from where all the activities are, and this is why the connectivity to BSC is so important.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're giving our data away anyways, unknowingly. So being able to, rent or sell your data in a controlled manner, that's definitely going to be beneficial to the user.
Yep, definitely. And hopefully in a GDPR compliant way.
We were having a conversation yesterday about, it was just like a creator roundtable and talking about, at the end of the day, regardless of how much these centralized entities give us back, they own our data and they control our data. So yes, we might be getting, higher revenue streams in one platform for the other, but we don't know what they're doing with our data at the end of the day. So I just wanted to chime in because I totally agree with that. And it was fresh in my head from last night.
You're absolutely right? And I tend to take a more balanced view where we're not saying that Web2 is evil or what, right? They do give a lot of value, right? In terms of giving you like better organized search results and so on. But more than that, right? One is you can't trust what they do with your data. And what if you want to retrieve it, right? Will they actually give you back? But the other thing is also the transferability. What if you prefer, right, to use another Google? What if you prefer to use another platform? then that is when you realize that you don't really have the freedom and the ownership of whatever you've put in platform A, right? You can't just move it to platform B in that way. So the freedom of choice becomes hampered. And so we really want to push for this.
In some of the things that I had looked at for BNB Greenfield, again, looking at it from like a content creator perspective, just the ability, if there were these new wave of apps that would be able to be created on BNB Greenfield with this new technology, we talk about privacy. Another thing I consider is like censorship. Maybe not for me, but other artists or creators in this space. So being able to eliminate some of those hurdles in the current Web2 space, I think is definitely going to be interesting to see how that evolves.
Definitely. And ever since we released the white paper, it's quite encouraging because we're seeing quite a lot of developers coming, speaking with us, reviewing the paper and just giving their comments as well. Many of them are also in the privacy space or in the ZK technology space. There's always this idea of you can't just store data like that, right? Because it's on a blockchain, especially. Like, do you want all your data? Like, imagine this data set could be about what things you're buying, right? Or what you're searching for. So we gotta be careful here, and that's where like encryption comes in. Is it a ZK firewall? There are many different ways to actually get there, and this is where the devs would have to come together, right? Discuss what is the best architecture to actually do this.
Yeah, those are great points. Great points. We did talk about some of the use cases. Any other use cases that you can think of that you might want to share with us?
I think first is all the L1s and L2s, right? Some of the L1s, L2s have been around for half year, 1 year, or even 2 years, right? So the amount of data, because blockchain, it means that you have to run it from the first Genesis block all the way to now. And many of them have actually amassed like terabytes of data. So it becomes inefficient, right, to do it. And I think a lot of it many of them will be thinking about how we can actually put some of this in a more, cheaper cost and efficient way of storing them, but yet be able to access them quite easily. And this is where I think Greenfield could become a place for many of the blockchains out there who wants to do this. The other one, which I talked about, is publishing. I think that is when like communities can come together, whether they're writing songs, writing things, or someone actually gave me the idea that a group of people can create a song, right, collectively together as well, or you could build on one another. For example, I give a first draft, and then the person adds in the bass and so on. And all this co-creation of whether it's songs or creatives, right, can actually now be done because you're not just able to store it on decentralized storage, but you can also collectively own it with the permissions. So I think that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. Like you could do collective work together. That's a really interesting point, especially like with artists or writers or even like writing a movie script. There's just so many possibilities. But yeah, that's an interesting point.
Yeah, it is. Every time someone asks me about these possibilities, in fact, I have a slide that says endless possibilities. And when I chat with people, they give me more new ideas which I've never thought of. And that's what keeps me so excited because this is not just about, all right, how many more NFT collections we can get or how many more DeFi dApps we can get. This is really about innovation. Like every conversation sparks off like a new idea you haven't thought of.
I know that the recent announcement talked a little bit about the announcement is for the upcoming test net launch. Is there a timeline for that for the test net?
So we are aiming for testnet in Q2. We just released a white paper, was it like 2 or 3 weeks ago? So we're still gathering a lot of feedback and we want the community to come forward with more ideas and comments on the white paper. Who we're looking for? We're looking for builders, definitely, right? Builders to, build dApps on related to Greenfield. It could be like user-facing kind of decentralized apps, or it could be tooling and infrastructure. Because here you have the Greenfield core blockchain and BSC, and there'll be a lot of developer tooling that's required, right, to be able to integrate this tool in a seamless way for developers to build on BSC, and yet connect that usage and utility back to Greenfield. So definitely developer tooling, user-facing dApps. We are also looking for service storage providers, right? So whether you're an existing cloud, storage provider or someone with that cloud storage space, you could be an individual or you could be an organization. But we are looking for storage providers to form that storage provider list in Greenfield itself. And we're also looking for validators, right, to validate the Greenfield blockchain. Because when you think about Greenfield blockchain and what is stored in it, you can think of it as there is an account where you have a BNB ledger there, and this BNB will be used to pay for your storage fees as well as your data download fees. And then there is all this storage metadata, right? So the actual music file, for example, the actual data is actually stored off-chain with the storage providers. But the metadata itself, right? How big is the file? Which storage provider is with? When was it last modified? What are the group permissions? All these forms the metadata of the data that you have stored, and that is on Greenfield blockchain itself. So we need validators to actually secure the network, and also we're introducing this thing called proof of challenge, because the validators would then have to challenge the storage providers, right? To say that, hey, I think is this data corrupt or so on, and the storage providers have to prove that it is not. So this then forms a secure network, right, with storage providers providing the storage capacity and download capacity bandwidth, and then the validator securing the chain itself.
That's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. I did not know that part. But yeah, it's going to be exciting to see what everybody is building, and just some of the ideas that I thought about. You have, like you said, there's content distribution platforms, social networks, web hosting, marketplaces to trade data, cloud storage. So a lot of different possibilities, and I'm looking forward to see more what comes out. I did put out the BNB official announcement in the Nest, as well as a little write-up that I did about BNB and how I see it affecting content creators and social media influencers. So everybody feel free to take a look at that. Anything else on BNB Greenfield before we move on?
I think the most important thing is we are looking for people to build with us. So if you want to be a validator to Greenfield, if you want to be a storage provider, if you want to be a builder, right, building all these toolings and apps, please go to our website, right, bnbchain.org, and you'll be able to find Greenfield info and how to get in touch with us.
Check out the pinned tweets on the top, and you'll be able to find the white paper as well and more information about BNB Greenfield. But since you guys have a lot going on, let's move on to the next topic. So another announcement that came out recently is you guys were partnering up with Ultra Abu Dhabi and Fellas.io to introduce NFT. Just
Yes.
a little backstory, Alvin. I'm actually from Miami, which is where the
Right.
original Ultra started. So, a couple of years ago, before my crypto days, I was an active participant at Ultra, which is one of the biggest events here in the year. And I can tell you that how we don't have NFT ticketing still baffles me. So you would have to, it was a weekend event. So they would make you wear this wristband the whole weekend. And you got to make sure you don't lose it, because otherwise you can't get back into the show. So I'm really excited for this partnership. So I'd love to hear more about it and could talk a little bit more about just NFT ticketing in general.
Sure. I mean, I'm really excited about this, and I must say this deal gave me a little bit of a FOMO because my colleagues are going for Ultra Festival, but not me. So we were proud to enable NFT ticketing. I think that's the main utility for this case, which is with Ultra Music Festival. So if you guys haven't bought the tickets and still able to, right, I think it's in Abu Dhabi on 4th to 5th March. So this would be kind of the first time ever, right, where the Ultra Festival tickets are in the form of NFTs. And this is sold on Binance NFT platform. I think someone was talking about where Ultra and BNB Chain, and there's Fellas as well, was a relationship. And Fellas here is really the solution partner for Ultra. So they're third party, and they do like things like NFT membership, ticketing services, and so on. Now, apart from just like ticket access, right, there are also some unique benefits here. For example, with this NFT, you are able to use it as for example, a food and drink voucher, which is tagged to the NFT itself. So how it works is that these are actually metadata, and the metadata is like a counter that reduces whenever you kind of scan and use that voucher in the NFT itself. So a little difference here, right? And I think in NFT ticketing, there's still a lot of experiments being made on how you can extend the benefit of the NFT, because if it is a token and you're able to inscribe data on it, like metadata, there's so much you can do beyond just giving like DAO access. So looking forward to that.
That's going to be an interesting thing to see how that grows too. Because yeah, like you see having your friends going, like it's an international thing. It's well known. So I hope to see it, expand to other places. How do you see NFT ticketing evolving down the line? It looks like this is just the beginning of a partnership. How do you envision this going forward?
So much, right? And I think first, before we even answer that, we have to understand like the advantage of NFTs in event ticketing, right? And I know you mentioned the wristband and stuff, right? And but there is also a lot of other concerts where they really start using like electronic QR codes and so on. And there's always a question of it is already electronic, so how does NFTs add that additional value? But I think there is still a great difference here, right? And one is on authenticity, right? And when I think about authenticity, I think about two things. Is the ticket authentic, and is the user the authentic holder of that ticket? And the beauty of blockchain is that you're tying that ticket to an NFT token contract. So it's not like somebody can just take a picture of your QR code and or just hack into your email account and go for it, right? Because it is all tied to an NFT token contract that can be checked and verified on the blockchain itself. Whereas non-NFT tickets, like QR codes, can actually be easily forged and faked. And then the other one is that then you're tied to the token contract's owner, right, through the wallet address itself. And maybe now I don't see this a lot yet, but I think it will happen in the future. So it'll be great if to tie that token to your wallet, you have to kind of log into your mobile digital wallet, and only you can do that, right, with your password or code and so on. But maybe in the future, you will also require message signing, right? Because if someone can hack into your wallet, they will still be able to get the QR code out and so on. But with message signing, I think it's different because you need encryption and stuff to actually sign it. So with that, it means that you can take care of the problems both with the ticket authentication and as well as whether you're the real owner here. So blockchain is actually a great solution to solve both at the same time. Then there are other specific benefits, and this goes into how it evolves in the future. I've always said this, if I'm a celebrity, which I'm not, but if I'm a celebrity, I would love to actually look at who are my most loyal supporters from the days where I was just starting out. And I think blockchain has this persistence in its data, right? Where imagine if this celebrity has had like 50 concerts in his whole lifetime. And the beauty of it is you can actually know which are the wallet addresses, right, that bought NFTs to your first ever concert, right? Or you could even do things like people who have bought NFT tickets to all the Ultra concerts around the world, right? And with that, you can then airdrop a golden edition ticket. There's so much you can do with that golden ticket. Maybe it gives you like additional benefits. Maybe it lets you meet the band or so on. There's so many things you can do with NFTs.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I hadn't thought about it like from an artist perspective, from like an artist or a celebrity perspective of them being able to have that analytics data, which now they really don't. Like they only know how many tickets they sold, but yeah, it would be good to see how many of these were repeat customers that came back to my concert. Like there's really no way of tracking that now.
There isn't. And maybe next time you can give like, participation NFTs, POAPs, to your listeners, right? And those who supported you all the way from your first Twitter space. So much value in NFTs.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, I think we're starting it off. We're starting it off here in Web3 with just like POAPs, but yeah, I definitely see that whole concept growing to track your participants in your community and reward them for the ones that contribute the most or participate the most.
Definitely. And I think, ticketing is just one, as we maybe segue into NFTs in general, I think ticketing is just one way where NFTs can be used, right? Collectibles, we're all very familiar with it. Vouchers, I think, are interesting. And, vouchers with payments, I think can open up a whole new world as well. I remember I used to lead a global team, and it's so hard, just to give like whether it's a Chinese red packet or voucher, $10 voucher to thank your team that is across the world. And I remember trying to buy like Amazon vouchers, and it's like certain countries, the vouchers are different. It is hard to do like if bank transfers. Like every country is so different. But with blockchain and in crypto, with like NFT vouchers and so on, it becomes very easy because you can just send a $10 worth of tokens right through an app, and the app will just enable you with one click to open up a wallet, and tokens are in it. There is membership as well, right? Membership is being discussed a lot in NFTs these days. And this is where, again, the metadata becomes important because, how long have you had that membership? What if you want to add certain attributes? For example, a higher tier or lower tier or different kinds of benefits to that membership. You can now all do it through NFTs. And one thing about NFTs, which traditional electronics capabilities can't really do, is not built in, is secondary trading, right? So today, if you buy, say, the Ultra ticket, and say you can't go or you want to sell it and so on, you would have to go into many different forums, and you don't know which is the best place. But with NFTs, one is no matter where you sell it, people can always verify that this is the real ticket, right? Because they can check the token address. But the other one is there would be some very good marketplaces, whether it's OpenSea or I believe there'll be one for all these concerts next time, right? Where you can easily sell it. And this means that, one, you have freedom because you are able to buy and sell any kind of assets or tickets that you want. I was even mentioning to a friend, maybe hotel room nights, right? Today, if you can't go for say a 2-night trip in Maldives, you're probably at the mercy of the hotel to give you a refund. But maybe next time, right, if hotel room nights are NFTs as well, maybe this is where a secondary marketplace can come in, where you can sell it. So the trading is actually a big part of it. And also, if you were to do a secondary sale of the ticket, Ultra may not be able to get a royalty out of it, right? But with NFTs, there's a lot of flexibility if you do want that. So again, it does add a lot of flexibility when you're able to tie it to an NFT itself.
Thinking about it, from what I know, Ultra Miami, it's full of people from all different places of the world. It's so being able to just, use crypto in one of these decentralized platforms to buy or switch tickets sounds much easier than having, to deal with all the different currencies and things like that.
Yeah, I would love to go to the Miami one. I've heard so much about it.
And those were the good old days. Some of it I want to remember, some of it I don't. But yeah, it's definitely, I think it's one of the biggest ones. And it looks like they've started branching out to Abu Dhabi and so forth. Usually houses like 100 to 150,000 people here. So it's definitely a huge event. So when I saw that partnership, I was really excited for that because I think it's going to be good to bring in some real NFT utility to mainstream.
I think this is part of our initiative to really bring more Web3 use cases, right, into what we call the Web2 world, right? So NFTs are a great way to do it. I know a lot of luxury brands and consumer brands are also looking to get into Web3. And most of it actually is through NFTs, right? And they're thinking of the objective is usually around engagement. How are they going to engage their users or current consumers in an interesting way? So definitely something that I know every chain is looking at. We're looking at it as well. Hopefully we get more use cases soon.
We're going to talk a little bit about their Zero to Heroes Builder program if anybody's a dev or looking to build. So it sounds like you guys put out this new program, Zero to Heroes Builders program. So tell us a little bit more about that. Who can sign up and what are the details about that?
Sure, happy to. Zero to Hero is a 6-month virtual program. So it serves as a one-stop shop to get the skills, the networks, and the resources you need to, supercharge your career in Web3. Or if you have a brilliant idea, feel free to come as well. So there are 3 parts to that. The first part is a 6-week bootcamp. If you are interested, please apply very soon by 3rd of March. So this 6-week bootcamp, we have it in 3 languages, English, Chinese, Russian. We are open to all Web2 and Web3 devs. So this is the most common question I get. It is not just for Web3 developers. It's also for those who are, in Web2 development. Application, of course, is selection basis, which I think is very fair, similar to other kind of programs, which is, are you able to commit, right, to the full length and time and required commitments of this program? The other one is, we will, of course, still prefer people with a programming background. But programming, even if you do not have a Web3 or Solidity background, is fine. So we are looking at, probably 500 or 600 that could be admitted across the 3 languages. Right? The second part of it is then the 4-week hackathon. So after you go through the bootcamp and learn about Web3 and stuff, then there is a 4-week hackathon where there will be workshops, you'll be building, and then the final week of the hackathon will be kind of submitting and presenting. There's 7 tracks to this. So Greenfield, which you've heard at the start of this call, will be one of the 7 tracks. And then the rest, as you're familiar with, would be DeFi and cross-chain innovation. There is SocialFi as well, which I think is one of the big themes this year. Prizes to be won, about 200,000 in prizes. Track winners can win it as well. And the 7 tracks will each have a winner that will be automatically accepted into the 3rd stage of this builder program, which is then the incubator. Right, those that make it in the incubator, there'll be workshops that helps you with things like, how do you fundraise, how do you find a product market fit, about design of dApps, marketing support, there'll be, kind of 360 support all around, even technology support as well. So again, and more prizes to be won. So it's really kind of a 6-month program laid out across like boot camp and then a hackathon and then an incubator across the next 6 months.
Is there any cost for the participants? So obviously there is an application process, but if you get selected, is there any cost?
Well, the cost is your time, I guess. There is no cost to it at all.
Time is money.
Yeah, time
You're
is
right.
money. Yeah, no cost at all. It's free for everyone to come in. If you're a developer, even without Solidity background, it's fine. Come and join us. And also for the hackathon and the incubator, you would be able to join them as well, even if you don't join the bootcamp. So ultimately, we're still looking for very good projects to join us.
Looks like a great initiative, and hopefully people do sign up. There's a lot of opportunities in this space. So I know a lot of people are like, oh, maybe, I want to learn how to code, or like, here's your chance, apply. If you have some type of programming background, there's tools available to help you move forward. So I really appreciate the team doing that. I think that's awesome.
Thank you. And it's not just about the content, right? It's also about the networking, right? We have partners like Axela and Chainlink and PokerStarter and so on. So when you come, it's not just about, listening to the lectures and stuff or just building. There is a whole ecosystem of whether they're sponsors or partners or projects that are on BNB Chain that can actually be here to exchange ideas and help you as well. So looking forward to that.
Great points. Did put up some additional information about some of the events that you're holding at ETH Denver. Just like you got Ultra FOMO, I'm starting to get ETH Denver FOMO because everybody's going to ETH Denver.
I'm definitely getting a lot of ETH Denver FOMO because I injured my leg, so I wasn't able to travel, but we'll love to go next time.
Well, Alvin, I really do appreciate you coming by. I think it's been a great conversation. Anything you want to leave us with?
Web3 space, there's so much to do. Things are changing so rapidly. And, I always say, be out there, be open. If you have a good project or a good idea, come and talk with us. Even if you don't want to build on BNB Chain, it's fine because I think everyone in this space, right, is about, what's the next thing for Web3 and how we can further decentralize things and, build things. So, yeah, looking forward to connecting with anyone, right, who's on this podcast.
Yeah, thanks. And if you ever want to come back in a few months and let us know if anything new that you guys got going on or what the progress is with BNB Greenfield, we'd love to have you back. I do apologize for the technical issues this morning. I don't know, Twitter does not like my account this morning, so I apologize for having to switch over here. But I'm so glad you were able to make it. Thanks again.
Thank you.